Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unfiltered Flow ELSC. I'm Meghann Cook here with co-host Alan Burdette, and today we're pleased to have Mr. Randy Brown on the show. Randy spent over 40 years in the fluid power industry, and prior to retiring was a regional manager for Hydrodyne. Welcome, Randy.
Well, thank you, Meghann. Good to be here and good to be with you guys this morning.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it. So how'd you get started in the industry, Randy?
So out of college, and this goes back quite a few years, I was looking for a job, obviously. And the first job that came up, I actually ended up not having any offers for a while, but the first job that came up was a job with a company that built steering systems and monitoring systems for vessels and boats, large boats, small boats, tugboats, push boats, or just a variety of anything, big yachts, in fact. We did quite a few systems there. And so that was really my introduction to hydraulics is helping to build and sell and coordinate everything for this company. And we built quite a few power units, everything from maybe 2.5 or 5 horsepower up to 50 or 75 or 100 horsepower for the bigger vessels. And that was my introduction into hydraulics. I almost went in a different direction, so it wasn't something that I had planned, out of college to go in directly into the hydraulic field. It just kind of developed that way and ended up through my whole career being in hydraulic and pneumatic. So that was my first job, was steering systems. From there, I ended up going to a company that sold hydraulics for sugar mills and traveled quite a bit for that. And then after that, into the distribution field.
Randy, you and I worked on a couple of projects when you were at Hydrodyne, but I know you had a lot of experience before then. And I was just wondering, what's the most fun or most important project you ever worked on in your career?
That's a good one. I'd probably say the most interesting one was probably working with John Deere on their feller bunchers. We had a big project, and it was probably maybe a year and a half going through all of the prototypes and everything else. But it was putting hydrostatics on the drive system of the John Deere feller buncher. Very, very interesting project. Spent many days and weeks out in the field with the John Deere guys. Back then, it was actually a company down in Louisiana, Cameco, that was building for John Deere. And like I say, we spent just hours and days and weeks out in the field with these feller bunchers, just trying to do everything with them, trying to simulate every possible situation that it could be in, changing orifices, changing reaction speeds and everything of both the pumps and the motors in the system. That was like I say, a year and a half long project. That was probably one of the interesting things that I had done in my career.
Much has been made about IoT and smart technology influencing fluid power systems. So what did you see, and what do you even see now, with the advancements and the integration into modern machinery now?
Yeah, I think probably, to me, the electronic integration of everything for controls has been the biggest thing. And I think the biggest advancement, which started many years ago, but it seems to be becoming a little bit more prevalent in everything. You see electronics now that are controlling hydrostatic pumps. You see electronics controlling valves now, position indicators on cylinders that have electronic feedback, where you have to have specific, down to 1,000th of an inch in some cases, specific position with everything. So I think the electronics is probably the biggest thing that has moved the industry forward in the last several years, and probably is going to be very important in the future too.
Yeah, that sort of blends into the question I have for you, and that's for professionals looking to stay ahead in the fluid power industry today. What skills or areas of knowledge should they focus on to be most successful in the next 5 to 10 years?
I would say probably, when you look at everything right now, robotics is a big upcoming thing. It's not something that's new to the industry either. You look in the automotive industry, and they've had robotics there for quite a few years, but the integration of the electronics, I think, when you look at Parker's electronics, they have an electronic control module. They have the ICAM system that came out many years ago that they're still using, I believe. Danfoss has that +1 module that they're using right now. And I think these type of integrated electronics are the big thing and will continue to become more and more prevalent and more popular in the industry.
What do you see, as the biggest challenge in the fluid power industry right now? There's been a lot of changes going on. So what do you see as the biggest challenge?
I think that's probably not changed a lot in the last few years. And I know in my career too, probably personnel issues and keeping and maintaining and finding good people that have the knowledge to do the job properly and the inspiration and the drive to get in there and do it. I think personnel is probably the biggest challenge for everybody these days. In the distribution side of things, personnel too, but I also see challenges there that are becoming more and more prevalent with internet sales, direct selling, sometimes with manufacturers going around distribution can also be a challenge in some cases. What we had experienced, and I'm sure it's still going on a lot in the industry right now, is you get good engineers and good salesmen that are out there doing all of the work with the customer, and you come up with a good solution to it, and then they jump on the internet and find basically the same product for a cheaper price and end up going and buying it off of the internet. That's a big challenge, I think, in the industry right now, too. It's the internet sales and direct selling.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Correct.
Finding very stout hydraulic engineers and adept sales folks that aren't just catalog salesmen, so to speak, is certainly a challenge, with Alan and I on the recruiting side these days. I mean, it gives you a run for your money
It does.
in finding qualified candidates for openings. So
You all see it firsthand every day. Exactly.
Let me ask you this, Randy. It sort of goes in hand with that. What do you think about the consolidation that's going on in the industry and has been for a while? I mean, you've sort of been, I don't want to say victim of that. You've seen it firsthand, though, in your career. Do you think that's good or bad for the industry?
I think people have mixed feelings about the whole thing. Personally, I don't necessarily really see it as a great thing. For the smaller companies, it does give them a whole lot more resources when a bigger company ends up swallowing them up. But I too am very familiar with that. I had gone to work for a company back in the 80s, which was NL Rucker at the time. And although in my 20 years of employment there, I never changed jobs, I actually worked for 4 different companies through that period. So acquisitions have been around for a heck of a long time. But again, I think sometimes the acquisitions can be good for the smaller companies, gives them a whole lot more resources. But sometimes the bigger companies have a little bit different policies, and it may take the personal relationships somewhat away. So, I mean, there's good and bad sides to everything. Thank you. That being one of them.
Great, Randy. Well, we appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for talking to us.
Randy, thanks a lot for doing this. We sure appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Randy.
Okay. You bet. Y'all have a great day.
Hey, you
Me
too.
too.
Take care.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.